Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we discuss the future of Cato Sicarius. General spoiler warning to begin, as we will be discussing events from across the Warhammer 40k universe, so you have been warned. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, Cato Sicarius, the famed Ultramarines captain. Well, at least former captain. Because, well, as we know, Sicarius has had an eventful journey to say the least. Having been chosen to accompany the returned Primarch on his Terran crusade, Sicarius was by Guilliman's side all the way to Terra itself, only to then be entrusted by the Primarch to lead an advance force back to Macragge. For Guilliman feared for the state of his beloved Ultramar. However, as we know, Sicarius' journey was not to be the easiest. His fleet was trapped within titanic warp storms, and Sicarius was forced to order each ship to try and make its own way through the warp, back to the relative safety of Ultramar, his own vessel the Emperor's Will, becoming lost within. Of course, we know this was not to be Sicarius' end, and after surviving countless demonic assaults, the Emperor's Will eventually returned to Ultramar, many years after it had departed Terra. And well, this really brings us up to Sicarius' current situation, because in his absence, Captain Akaran had been appointed second company captain, and rather than Sicarius reassuming his position, Guilliman decided to appoint him head of his Victrix Guard, his personal bodyguard. Now, I guess it depends on your perspective here, as to whether you feel being head of Guilliman's bodyguard is a step up or a step down. For me, honestly, it feels like a big step down. I know Guilliman is the Primarch, the most important person outside the Emperor himself in the entire Imperium, but Sicarius is a leader of men, a man who belongs leading men into battle, being the head of the spear tip we have so often seen him be, making a course straight for the enemy general. He is not a man who belongs stuck waiting outside Guilliman's chamber. And yes, there is some reasoning behind Guilliman's desire to keep Sicarius close. The trauma he suffered within the warp, having left its mental scars, and Guilliman wanted to mentor Sicarius some, as he reminded him of an Ultramarine from his earlier past. And since his return, Guilliman has definitely displayed some sentiment to the era he left behind. The problem I couldn't shake though whilst reading Godblight is that Sicarius really feels sidelined. Whenever he appears on the page, he still emits a sense of danger, and dare I say, character, that other Ultramarines still struggle to match. Yet he's no longer that inspirational captain in the thick of the battle, and the character of Decimus Felix has essentially completely replaced Sicarius in any sense as Guilliman's protege. So at least to me, Sicarius kind of feels very lost at the moment, very much relegated to the background. And that's a big shame for a character who was really the future, and again, dare I say it, the poster boy of the chapter. Yes, he was polarizing to some, but to me that was a good thing. It gave the Ultramarines an edge that they sorely needed. And as I've said before, I am a big Ultramarines fan. They were my first chapter stepping into the hobby as a kid, before my eyes saw that Space Wolf Codex. So the question is now, what's the best direction for Sicarius to take? Well, to me, like I said, it's quite clear that Decimus Felix is Guilliman's new right-hand man. And he's not going anywhere. He represents the new Primaris Marines. And of course he has already been named Tetrarch, so is responsible for a vast portion of Ultramar. If this Primarch moulding of Sicarius isn't really going to be developed, you could say Sicarius really needs to leave the Primarch's shadow. Take back the mantle of Ultramarines hero he had earned. Now how to do this is a little more tricky, because they've made it clear Acheran has been a success as captain of the second company, so he doesn't deserve to just have it stripped away from him. However, let's be real here, where else can Sicarius go? So returning to captain is really only one of the real options. I think we may have to be looking at a heroic death for someone. Not necessarily for Acheran or Uriel Ventress, simply because I'm a big Ventress fan, but maybe one of the existing captains, that is for sure. Perhaps even a Guilliman. Have Sicarius assume the mantle of Calgar's successor once and for all. Now that could actually be very interesting. A narrative of the first company of a Guilliman assailed by the demons of the warp, and Sicarius having to face his own mental scars in rallying the company after a Guilliman's fall. That could definitely work. And of course you could use the same logic for Sicarius returning to the second company, or any other company for that matter. But it would almost feel like putting him back where he was in the beginning. So in all honesty, I'd prefer Sicarius to assume the first company role. A Guilliman has been around for a long time, but he has always really been in the background of the lore. I know he probably has many fans out there, but on the whole, would he truly be missed? Of course, with Guilliman's revising of the Codex Astartes, we could always have Sicarius being given a new founded company, but I don't quite see that being as a dramatic narrative. Now, what about Chapter Master? Well, I'm not sure Sicarius is ready for that role either. Although Calgar most certainly has lost some of his shine with the return of Guilliman, he still holds a soft spot in my heart. I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure I would want to see Calgar go anywhere. However, if not a return to captain, then where else for Cato Sicarius? I don't see him leaving the Ultramarines anytime soon, so maybe some kind of evolution for the Victrix Guard, giving them a more prominent place and feel within the chapter, rather than simply being on Guilliman's heels all the time. I actually like the idea of that. We don't need any new positions or ranks. The Tetrarchs and 11th Company Captain already cause enough headaches. But subtly bringing the Victrix Guard to a more controlling and dominant position, and thus returning Sicarius to the limelight, now that can work. Something more akin to the Blood Angels' Sanguinary Guard, who are much more involved in the running of the chapter. Now that could definitely work, keeping Sicarius in his current position, but bringing him back into the main picture, giving this developed and established character his place back in the foreground where he belongs. Depending on how far they wanted to go, you could even have the Victrix Guard becoming company size, even giving us a Victrix Guard unit to deploy on the tabletop. And of course GW a lovely new box set to sell, complete of course with a newly primarized Sicarius. Because come on, it's only a matter of time before Sicarius crosses the Rubicon. And I'm quite looking forward to seeing what his new model will look like. Hopefully this is something we'll see moving forward, Because like I said, I do feel it's a shame one of, if not the most, interesting Ultramarines characters, outside the Primarch himself of course, is really kind of sidelined right now. I just feel it's a crying shame for his character that we've really seen evolve over the years. But as always guys, what do you think? Are you happy with Sicarius' position right now? Are you glad to see him moved more into the background? Or like me, do you feel he needs to regain some of his exposure? How can you see Sicarius returning to the fore? A return to the rank of captain? Or maybe some development of the Victrix Guard and his role as head of it? As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off and I'll see you all again real soon.